Hi, brothers and sisters. It's Lisa. I haven't seen you in a long time. It's been a few weeks. I have so much to talk about. I have so much to catch up on. It's not even funny. There's been a lot that has happened, and I have photos up here of Nimrod, and I will get into that because it involves two of my dreams that I've had this past week or a week and a half now. Just so you know, I have kept you all in prayer. The prayer board, hopefully you can see it. I do keep you all in prayer every day. If I'm sick, if I'm having to, if I'm unable to sit up, I am praying and, studying the Word as I can read, or I just listen to it on audio when I have signal. A sister just messaged in. Thank you, dear sister, for leaving a message on the last video. I just saw it before I started this recording and praying for the signal here. I in no way want to accommodate a 5G, but in order to be able to do the things that we need to do for the Lord right now until that time comes, I really appreciate your prayers. Thank you for posting that request for prayer. A few of you know that I have not had cell phone service for the better part of a couple of weeks. The signal kept going bad, and eventually it just went out altogether. So I decided to transfer services, and in short, there was a lot of complications doing that with my current phone. So I am hoping that that will be alleviated by this weekend, and I can get to more messages, quickly. If I'm not next to a computer, I can check my email. I don't always carry my phone around with me either, so I am way behind on messages. I tried to take care of the emergency, if there's emergencies first, and then try to, read your emails, and then if I need to answer them, if there's a dream or something that you're wanting me to pray about, then I take that to prayer, so of course I can't get right back to you on it. But please know I am doing the best I can under the situation, dealing with the illness. I have better days, but then I have some really difficult days, and I in no way, there's a fruit of the Spirit called long-suffering. You have joy, peace, love, and long-suffering. And just as many of the people in the Bible explain that even though, we're sick, it doesn't mean that we don't have faith or that we don't believe in healing, but we know that there is a purpose in everything, and so I trust the Lord in what He's doing. So I do have some days where I can get around and even drive around locally, which I love to get out when I can. But for the most part, I am at home, and that I needed to be anyway. I have two sick kitties. One passed away last week, and I learned a valuable lesson in praying for Marley. As many of you know, he had tumors. He went to be with the other animals in heaven, I believe, on March the 4th. appreciate all your emails and prayers. Those of you who knew that we lost Marley. When I lose an animal, it feels like I've lost a family member. It's because they are family. But I learned so much through it, and I prayed before I started this video that the Holy Spirit would lead me into talking about the things that He wanted me to talk about, and one of those is what He taught me through my prayers as I was praying for Marley, because I got to a point, a couple of months ago when I prayed for Marley. I prayed over him and I asked the Lord what He wanted me to do, and all I heard was trust me. So I automatically thought, He's going to heal him. There's the train. I keep thinking we're going home soon. Oh, Father, we're not going home yet, but soon and very soon we're going to see the King. So I thought, excuse me, I thought the Lord meant that, He was going to heal him, and I just needed to be patient and trust Him. And then I kept doctoring him and praying every day and putting my hand on his head and thanking Jesus for whatever He was doing, whether He would take him home or whether He would heal him. I was okay either way, because I wanted the Lord's will and not my will. So, but neither of those happened. And I remember 3 days before he passed, those 3 days before he passed, I started shouting out in prayer, Father, heal him or take him home. I kept telling Him, I can't have him put to sleep. I cannot do that. Please heal him or take him home. Well, we ended up having a really rough past 3 days, and I had to take him to the vet, and there was no... Well, first of all, if we did the surgery, we would have had to have removed his entire bottom jaw. And even that, there was complications, and there's infection complications and eating complications and complications with performing surgery on a cat that doesn't understand what's going on after they wake up. And so the vet said, he needs to go to sleep and not suffer anymore. It was a really hard decision. I had a lot of support. I had some friends with me, and I couldn't understand why I was having to make that decision, but I did make that decision. And we brought him home, and we buried him and had a memorial service, and the sister sent beautiful flowers for his grave, and I painted a stone with his name on it, and we had a memorial service for him. I asked Father, I don't understand, and I told my friends, I need to hear from the Lord on this. I appreciate the encouragement from my friends, but I need to hear. There is something that I am supposed to learn from this, and I need to hear from the Lord. Another day passed, and I hadn't heard anything, and I just waited. I said, I'm going to be patient, but I know that there's something I need to learn from this, and I will wait, because I know that you answer prayer, and I'm not shaking my fist up at you and wondering why you didn't heal him or why you didn't take him home, because I know there is something that I'm not understanding. And so later on, the next afternoon, evening, I was just laying there thinking about Marley, and the Lord just started speaking and said, Lisa, and I just, that was like heaven right there, just to hear him call, because I hadn't heard anything, and it's a still small voice, if you're quiet, and you might just be thinking about other things, but you can hear it all inside of you. And I said, yes, Father, I'm listening. I actually said, I am one big ear. I am listening. And he actually spoke to me in a way that, I wouldn't have. There's no way you can think these things for yourself, He said, look at your friend Deborah. Look at my child Deborah. Do you think that I love and cherish Deborah? And I said, yes, I do. She is a wonderful, loving, godly woman. Of course I know that you love her and cherish her. And he says, well, do you think that her decision to tell you that you think that you should put him down, and her and her husband were thinking for 3 weeks that you were going to have to do that? Do you think that I am somehow angry with her or turned my back on her? And I said, no, I mean, I don't think you've turned your back. And he said, well, what kind of standard do you think I hold you up to then? How are you any different than Deborah? And it really eased my heart, because I was feeling so guilty for having had to put him down, but I didn't want him to suffer, and I thought that I didn't trust the Lord enough. I just thought I wasn't seeing something else. And he said, sometimes you're going to have to make very difficult decisions. I am teaching you to make very difficult decisions because of the time that you're in. I'm not going to make every decision for you, but I will always be with you to give you the strength to make those decisions. And he did. But everything in our life, every trial, is a lesson. And he helped me have the strength to know that Marley needed to go and didn't need to suffer through any more than he already had. So I learned a valuable lesson in that. And then spiritual warfare, usually when it rains it pours. A couple of days later, we had a kitty around here, little buddy. He was a stray cat. He had been hanging around for about 6 months, I guess, and we'd always say hi to him. And at first we thought he was a neighbor's cat, but he kind of hangs out with all the neighbors. And so I had just been talking about, I was cleaning up, and cleaning and sterilizing Marley's cat cave, and I wanted to put it out for little buddy in the barn, and so he could, be warm out there. And while that was out drying, the neighbor came over and knocked on the door and said this lady had just ran over a cat, and little buddy was killed instantly by a lady driving by, and it was cold and raining outside. And he ran out in front of her car. She was on the way to take her dog to an emergency vet hospital, but she stopped her car. She got out in the cold rain and went up to the neighbor's door, trying to figure out whose cat was it. She felt horrible. There was nothing that she could do. Then the neighbors came to us, and then I and the neighbors went and buried little buddy in, I guess we'll call it the back 40. near where Marley is. So we buried 2 cats this week, and there's been a ton of other things, that has kept me from doing a video and catching up with you guys. Also, dealing with the Lyme, and I deal with it one day at a time. And yesterday afternoon and evening, I was not able to sit up. It was a really rough night, but today is a lot better. And so I thought I'd go ahead and get a video done and share with you some of the dreams that I've had. On the screen, you were seeing pictures of Nimrod. On March the 1st, 2019, I had a dream. Now, I read the Bible pretty frequently, but I never really concentrate, I really couldn't remember anything about Nimrod. When I had the dream, I was thinking Nimrod, and I had to go look and see who this was. But I had a dream that there was, the first thing in the dream I saw, I'm standing there looking up, and I see somebody coming down out of the sky in fury. And in the dream, I look up and I go, "Oh wow, that's Michael." That's just what I said in the dream. There wasn't anyone telling me that was Michael. I just looked up and saw him coming down head first in a fury after this entity that was on the ground, on the earth, and he was coming down, and I just looked up, and I just knew in the dream that it was Michael, and I was like, wow, there's Michael. And then I looked to see, because he's coming down like head first, like in a fury, like, I'm serious, on a revengeful attack, and just charging out of the sky. And so I look over to see, because I can see what he's looking at, and I look over to see, where is he going? Who is he charging after? And I look over and I see, this is the closest picture. Let me click on this guy. This is the closest picture that I see here of the person that I saw that he was charging after. This one that my cursor's on. I'm trying to blow it up, but now, of course, my signal's bad and my computer's frozen. Really? Okay. Well, we'll just exercise some patience again. So, anyway. So I see this guy, and I heard, I didn't know it was Nimrod. I wouldn't have known looking at that. This is just the closest rendition. I wouldn't have known this guy was Nimrod. I knew he was huge. I knew he was a big guy. And I only got to see him for a second, because here's Michael coming down, and I look over and I see this guy, ready to fight, just like this. And then I heard Nimrod, Egypt. And then I looked back up, I was like, Nimrod? And I looked back up at Michael, and I think I got the understanding right before I woke up, like, yes, this is Michael. But I woke up before they connected. So then, I believe it was the next night, March 2nd, I had a dream. I'm just going to go through these dreams in order that I've had recently, since I haven't been able to catch up with you guys. So on March the 2nd, or March the 3rd, I think it was the very next night, I was standing before, and I don't know how many panels there were, but it looked like maybe 6 panels, but I was so concentrated on the top left hand right panel, which had fire in it. It was fire. It was like all these different scenes, and all of them were some kind of thing going on, like some kind of, maybe some kind of destruction, but I was focused on the one that had fire. And the only word that I heard was the Lord say, faith, faith. And I knew what he was saying was, when you see these things, you have got to keep your faith. So then I woke up. Then the next night, I had been praying and asking the Lord. I'd looked up some stuff on Nimrod from the dream on the first, and he was, there's actual pictures of Nimrod in his Egyptian garb. But, he's an Egyptian god. Well, the way my memory and everything works, I had to actually look that up to, be able to remember that Nimrod was the one that was in control when the Tower of Babel was built. So this goes all the way back to the beginning. He was the first major, pagan god that caused people to worship false god, the Antichrist. He was an Antichrist. So I was asking, Father, what my mind had not been clear, because I'd just been through so much lately, and it's really hard to get my mind clear sometimes. And I just said, Father, why were you showing me Nimrod and Michael? The only thing that I thought about when I woke up from that dream where I saw Michael was, I thought about Daniel 12:1. And Michael stood up, that great prince that stands for the children of that people, and there was a time of trouble since there was a nation. And at that time, that people were delivered, some to everlasting condemnation, some to everlasting life. Well, before that, he stands up for the children of that people, and seeing him, Michael, come down, it reminded me of that. So I'm asking the Lord, who is this Nimrod? I mean, is that like something that's in Ecclesiastes where what has been will be? Is this, going to repeat? Is this what the, Antichrist, coming up? Is it, sort of Nimrod? So I went to sleep, and I heard in the dream, I didn't see anything, but I heard Nimrod. Again, I heard the name Nimrod, and I heard Babylon or Babylonian. So I thought in my sleep, Nimrod, a Babylonian king out of Babylon. So I woke up and I looked up some other information on him, and I just found out through a couple of resources. All of a sudden I start seeing these videos, about Nimrod, and so I watched a couple of them, and I just felt like I was led to that in Iraq, they believe they found the remnants of Nimrod in the Iraqi museum, which was, some people attest that that was one of the reasons why we went into Iraq, was to take their spoils, to take a spoil, to take all of their artifacts, which are idols. They're Babylonian idols. So I just think it's not a coincidence that last year on 9/11 that we dedicated the Tower of Voices that looks like a very tall, skinny Tower of Babel. And then, I'm having dreams about, Nimrod, and I thought about Nimrod rising, thought about Phoenix rising, Nimrod coming up out of the ashes, which is spiritual, I think that this dream was focusing on that there is a Nimrod rising, a king, a Babylonian king like Nimrod, with the same spirit of Antichrist that is rising in Babylon. So the things that we're looking for in April to happen, I know in March of last year I was told to focus on 14 months from March 11, 2018. Well, that would be the end of April, 1st of May. as to something happening, depending on what calendar you're looking on. In middle of April to the first 5 days in May, would cover all the calendars on a 14-month period. So I know that something is about to take place. I'm not sure what that is. I know that if any of you guys are following the things that are happening in Israel with the Sanhedrin and the passing of the Noahide laws, also Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, elections are coming up, and there's word that he is being indicted for, fraud of some sort. I don't look into every single detail. I just keep up with kind of the basics. But Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka are, along with Trump, are getting ready to disclose the deal of the century for a peace deal between the Palestinian people and the Jews. So, getting together all these things that are, it's not uncanny, that they're all happening in a certain time frame. The Noahide laws were just passed. In the U.S., they have in the Senate on the floor right now to pass a law against anti-Semitism, which, if you guys know, with many of the laws that they're passing recently, it's not just, the law isn't just basically what you think about it, reading the title of it. Anti-Semitism, no speaking against the Jewish people, which I am wholeheartedly for. However, you need to read the small print and the fine print and really find out what is this law and exactly what does it entail, because with the passing of the Noahide laws and the setting up of the Sanhedrin with the underground temple that they have, they just dedicated the stone December 10th, 2018, with their sacrifice that, many of us know they have the sacrifice in the green bucket. It was horrible. But they sacrificed a lamb on a fire of pallets. It was really sad, and not only abomination by, sacrificing a lamb when we have our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, but to do that on the wall, and behind that wall underneath is the underground temple with the 71 seats for the judges, for the Sanhedrin, and then the 24 chairs, I believe, at the front. It's set up just like a court, a biblical court, except it's off one. And they have some kind of fireball idol up there. So this is a hidden underground temple, and if you don't know about it, you need to look that up. But the court system is already set up for the Sanhedrin. So when they come forth with the deal of the century, Palestinian Jewish peace deal, we all need to keep our eyes wide open, and because they do not want to announce this deal until after the elections. There is something about that. The Jewish people want them to announce it now. They do not want to announce it until after the elections. My take on that is that Netanyahu, I'm just speculating, but there are plans to take Netanyahu out and put in the correct person that's going to bring about the world rule, who are going to support all these things. So there's a lot going on, in our personal lives. There's a lot of spiritual warfare many of you are going through. I don't think I haven't heard from anybody. I have not heard from one person where they say, wow, things are going really great. We really feel, blessed. Not one. Not one single person. Every single one of us has our own trials right now and tribulation. Which leads me to another dream I wanted to tell you about that I had today. So, let me make sure I covered all that. This might be a rather long video, but we're going to cover some very important things. Oh, I need to cover one dream from March the 6th, 2019, and then Where is that page? Oh, I'm just going to give you the website. Okay, so March the 6th, 2019, I heard the face of the... Oh, no, where is it? My command. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought I had all this. Here it is. Okay. 3/6/19, I heard, at my command, the face of the earth will crack open. Well, on August 22nd, 2015, I also had a dream about the earth cracking open. And what I heard in that dream was, 7th moon, the face of the west will crack open. Now, I don't know what 7th moon this is, but to me that stood for the 7th month of the year, which, you know, on our Julian calendar, July is the 7th month. However, on a Hebrew calendar, the 7th month is the month of Tishri, which usually falls in September. So it was basically 3.5 years later. I had a kind of a repeat, not the same wording, but at my command. I knew that was the voice of the Lord. He said, at my command, the face of the earth will crack open. So I talked with a couple of people about this, and I kept thinking in my mind, you know, about this card that I remember seeing a few years ago, that someone told me the Illuminati had made this card game from like 1994, and that the towers were in there and Trump was in there and a lot of things there. It's a card game from 1994, and there's actually things that, you know, the plane hitting the Pentagon, the towers, Trump. Well, there's also, and how these things are from 1994, that tells me, you know, this isn't, you know, magic. This is planned events. So there is a website called taperunsout.blogspot.com, and there is a photo of this. I'll see if my computer's frozen and if we can get in there and look at it. I didn't want to do too much on the internet because of the very slow signal. But it is it is one of the cards from this deck, and it shows the earth cracking open and the tape running out. And there was something interesting that was written on the bottom of this card about, when the rapture comes, we will make them wait. I thought, you know, and that's when the earth cracks open. So, you know, the Bible talks about, you know, the great earthquake. Well, this could be, you know, that time. The Bible also talks about the son of perdition coming up out of the abyss, the things that CERN are doing, all the experiments that they have going on. Could be they could actually cause something like this. You know, the veil being rent. But let me look this up and see if I can get this. Tape runs out. Oh, really? Okay. So, and then I'll tell you about the dream from today, but I did want to try to show you this card. Okay. So go ahead and start talking about the dream about my sister, and maybe we can come back and see the card and talk about the 144-year-old fig tree that died in California this past week. 144-year-old fig tree. 144 years old. During a Chinese festival, while they were doing some kind of line dance, this tree started splitting, and they thought it was firecrackers, and it was not. It was this tree coming down. So I don't think there's any accidents to anything. I think the Lord is giving us many, many signs of His return and His coming. And there's a big one right there. So this is the site, tapernunsout.blogspot.com. Going back to, at my command, the face of the earth will crack open. That is the dream that I had on 3/6/19. So that may or may not come up. Let's see, just try to refresh it. And finally, so there are 2 more dreams that I want to tell you about. Hopefully you guys can hang out and watch the rest of this video. So today I had a dream about my sister, and we were in Austin, Texas, and I was supposed to be driving her somewhere. She still lives in Austin, but I was supposed to be driving her somewhere. I'm very familiar with Austin, Texas, because I spent many, many years there. But now I'm in, North Carolina, as many of you know. But I was there, and I was driving her somewhere in my car that I have now. And I remember we were going east, and I was either trying to get on one of the roads, but we got stuck. It was almost like we drove into this building, but I mean, not like crashing into it, but here we are driving, and then all of a sudden we're walking around in this building. And I said, well, we need to go back to Mopac or Lamar to head south to get you to where you're going. But there seemed like there were so many barriers. Every time it just seemed like there were some barriers, and we were in this building, we were trying to get on the elevator, and we were talking about whatever barriers were keeping us from really moving around freely to get back to where we needed to go. And my sister mentioned something, and she goes, yeah, it's actually, I've been thinking that it might really be happening, like it might all be actually true. And I said, what, like the dreams and stuff that people have been having? Because I've told her about my dreams and stuff, and she really doesn't want to, she doesn't want to believe that we're in the end times. I understand. She's got my nephews, my 2 little nephews, and some people just aren't ready to think about those things. But she was in the dream. She was kind of alluding to the fact that I'm really starting to wonder, with the things that I've seen lately, I'm starting to wonder if this whole thing is really true. She wasn't totally there or sold on it, but she was asking, kind of like, maybe this thing is true. And I said, you mean like the dreams and stuff that people have been having? And she goes, yeah. And I said, like the first, I don't know why I said this in the dream, but I said like the first 3 dreams that I had. And she said, yeah. And so then we're back in the car, and we're trying to get back to the right road. And I said, do you want me to tell you the dreams again so they're fresh in your mind, so if you forgot them? And she said, yeah. So the fact that she said yes, I was a little surprised, but I just started telling her, but I don't remember what dreams I was telling her, because I woke up. So it doesn't look like this this website's going to come up. Well, some of the pictures did. See if we can get this to show up here. So the picture that I'm trying to pull up is from the dream from March the 6th, 2019. And it just happens to be in a card with the earth cracking open. But you guys go to Tape Runs Out. You can see this address. Hopefully you can see this address up here. My mug might be in the way. taperunsout.blogspot.com. It's not going to happen, so I'm just going to X out of it. I think that it's running particularly slow too because I am using the recording program. There is another dream that I do want to share with you that one of our brethren had sent in that a friend had. So they've asked me not to, disclose any, names or information, and that's fine, but I believe that he wants, people to know about the dream because of where the times that we're in and the question that this particular woman had asked in her prayers before she went to sleep when she was given this dream. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video and see if I can get my computer running again. Go ahead and start downloading this, and then I will come back on and do a second video. So thank you again for your love and your prayers. Thank you for also those of you who support the ministry. I don't always put the bread basket link up because I've never wanted people to think that we have this channel because we're making money or anything. We're not making money. I don't do commercials. I don't do anything like that, but we do have a bread basket for brothers and sisters who have emergency needs. And I do have a lot of you. It seems, it comes and goes, but many of you, when you have an emergency, you do write into me, or if you know of someone who's in need, you feel the need that I need to get involved with that person's needs. Wherever the Lord leads us, the bread basket is for our brothers and sisters. That I don't touch. That every dime of that, I even donate. I give my tithe to the bread basket. So if you want to support the bread basket, go to the GoFund link, because that helps out any brothers and sisters with emergency needs, whether that is clothes, food, Bibles, electric bills. We've paid portions of rent that were emergencies, phone bills. There's been so much, but whatever the emergency need is, that is what we help with. So again, thank you for all of your support, your prayers, your love, and your support of the ministry, and I will come back on to do another video in just a little while. I love you all dearly. Please forgive me for not coming on for so long, but I know many of you understand that I do come on when the Lord leads and He allows. Much love to you always in Christ Jesus, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye. So it's not stopping yet. Just know that this is the day that the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad in it. And hold on to your faith. Since it's moving really slow, it's not turning off yet. So until it turns off, I will just share things that hurt and things that mar shape the man for perfect praise. Shock and strain and ruin are friendlier than the smiling days. Remember when you're in the storm to hold on to your faith, brothers and sisters. It's very important to put on your full armor and hold on and trust the Lord no matter what, and have faith, and He will deliver you out of the storm if you're looking above the waves for His way.